Welcome back to 10 Minutes with Miss Campos. I am Miss Campos, even though I don't have my curly hair today. This is week 2, day 1, and we are going to work on parts of speech, in particular verbs. Every word I'm using with you right now belongs to a part of speech. It is important to know the parts of speech because it helps us understand what we read, and it also helps us become better writers. In this lesson, we are going to focus on verb tense. Verbs are words that tells us an action like talk, walk, look. Those are all things that we can do. So any word that you can think of something that you can do, like smile, blink, those are called verbs. A verb tense tells us when that action is happening by changing the verb a little bit. Some verbs you may have noticed end in ed, like talked or walked. This tells us that the action already happened. In this lesson, we will identify 2 types of past tense verbs, some rules to these verbs, and how to identify each. So verbs are words that indicate an action or something that we can do, like a fruit can ripen, we can make an offer, or we can travel. If we take these verbs and put it in the past tense to indicate it already happened, we are going to add an ed to traveled at the end, offered, and ripened. Words we can add an ed at the end, we call them regular past tense verbs. A regular past tense verb, we can add an ed at the end. So if I say employ, to make it past tense, I would say employed. I can stay somewhere. To make it past tense, I would say stayed. These are examples of regular past tense verbs. Now, not all verbs that end in a y, I can add an ed at the end and keep the spelling the same. I'm going to show you an example. Classify is a verb. We can classify or sort something. It ends in a y, but look what happens when I want to put it in past tense. The y is no longer there. It's replaced with an I, and then I added the ed. So the y was dropped and replaced with an I. We added the ed. Same goes for multiply. That's something I can do. If I multiplied a number, I would drop the y and add an I to make it past tense. It is still a regular past tense verb. You're just changing that last letter, the y, at the end. Let's take a look at another example when something happens at the end that changes in a verb to make it past tense. We have the word refer. If I want to say it already happened, I would say referred. If you notice that R at the end was doubled, and then I added the ed. The same applies for the word admit. Admitted, we took that D and doubled it, and then added the ed. Again, these are still regular past tense verb. This is just double consonants, while in classified and multiply, we just changed the y. We're still adding the ed, so it still is a regular past tense verb. Just take note of that. Now take a look closely at what happens when a word already has the double consonants at the end. So I'll just leave it like that and add the ed. Nothing changes. Same goes for the word add. I added, just added the ed. Here's another verb. I can catch something. If it already happened, I would say I caught. I did not add an ed at the end. Some of the letters in that verb changed. So it is no longer a regular past tense verb. We call these an irregular past tense verb because the spelling changes in this verb. Take a look at the word kneel. The past tense of kneel is knelt. I did not add the ed at the end. So this is an example of an irregular past tense verb. The same goes for the word choose. To make it past tense, I would say I chose. Again, you did not notice an ed at the end. It's just that the spelling changed a little bit. So let's review. Verbs, we said, are words that indicate an action or something that we can do. For example, we can read, we can write, and we can talk. If we want to make these verbs into past tense, there are 2 types, regular and irregular past tense verbs. In a regular past tense verb, we add the ed at the end of the verb. So in the word offer, we just added ed, offered. We looked at an example of classify. When it ends in a y, we replace it with an I. Or admit, we double the last consonant to make it admitted. An irregular verb are verbs that change the spelling to indicate it is past tense. For example, kneel would be knelt. chose is the past tense for choose, and to catch something, or we caught something. Let's do a quick review. I can sit in a chair. What would be the past tense of sit? Would it be a regular past tense verb or an irregular past tense verb? The past of sit is sat, so it is irregular. We're going to leave it here. We did not add an ed at the end. I can walk. The past tense of walk is walked. So I hear the ed at the end, so that would be a regular past tense verb. Let's take a look at verb drink. What's the past tense of drink? It would be drinked or drank. Drank. So that is an irregular past tense verb. And the last one is laugh. What's the past tense of laugh? Laughed. Very good. So that's a regular past tense verbs. Now I'm going to leave you with some past tense verbs. And what I'd like you to do is think about whether they are a regular or an irregular past tense verb. Slept, typed, studied, opened. Look at them closely based on what we learned, which are the regular past tense verbs and which are the irregular past tense verbs. Okay, great. So in this lesson, we learned about two types of past tense verbs, regular and irregular. We learned that in the regular past tense, we add an ed at the end, and the ones that are irregular, we do not. The spelling changes a little bit. Notice these verbs when you read. How does the past or present tense helps you better understand the passage? Notice the verb tense in your writing as well. How do you indicate that you're writing about the present or the past? Practice sorting the verbs at the end of this lesson so that it can help you identify if it's irregular or a regular verb. Continue to practice these skills at home. Always try your best and stay tuned for day 2 of our next upcoming lesson. Until next time, bye-bye.